All right, people. Midweek report time. So, oh boy. Lads, do we have a lot, and I mean a lot, to talk about in this video. First and foremost, thank you once again for dropping by the channel. I hope you enjoyed the content. Remember, I used to do the intros at the very start. I used to always be like, thanks for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, please hit subscribe. But seriously, if you do like the content, do consider subscribing. I'm only a few subs off 20,200, which is, we only hit 20k last week, or already making inroads into the 21k. Road to 30 is starting. But a lot to talk about in this particular video, a lot to preview, a lot to go over. A lot of stuff's come out over the last couple of days as well. And with some, I just genuinely haven't had the time to go and pump out a video. With some I have. Let's start, because obviously we're kind of into the business end now of things. I mean, next week is fight week. I am hoping to get my Joshua versus Dubois prediction video out to you guys Sunday or Monday, probably most likely Monday. And the reason why it's probably going to be Monday is because I am very fortunate, very privileged to be able to incorporate fight footage and really analyze a few strengths and weaknesses, a bit like I did in those two videos I did, were basically 3 reasons why. And I want to stick a few little snippets of what kind of weaknesses and strengths both guys have, and really do that in the prediction video. So I'm working on that one, and I think most people know what way I'm going to go for, but nevertheless it's still good to really assess the fight with a fine-tooth comb. The big talking point, I think, with Joshua is the comments Anthony Fowler made about having witnessed Joshua getting hurt in sparring when he was part of Team GB. I would imagine this was around about 2016 time, where he talked about Joshua getting hit with a short left hook by Daniel Dubois and his legs completely going. Dubois could have finished him but chose not to. I've said in the video I did about that I don't think that's going to have any real bearing on this fight. And I was watching Joe Stunner's video on it, and he touched on a very good point as well, where he basically said that he's in agreement with my assessment that, I don't think it's going to have any bearing. But also, if something that happened to Joshua in sparring, even if it was against Daniel Dubois, it would have manifested itself sooner. Like, if he was having a bad camp or got rocked by whoever in sparring and he was in there with a big puncher, you'd really see it manifest. He'd show mental cracks a lot sooner, and he doesn't. So for me, and I think with Dubois, they're not really hyper-focusing on it, because Filip Hrgovic did that. He did it at the press conference for their fight, and Dubois admitted, Filip Hrgovic, he basically put it on me, did what he needed to do, but that didn't have any bearing in their respective fight. If it did, Dubois would have just capitulated like that when Filip Hrgovic started landing right hand after right hand. He didn't. So for me, I don't think this is going to have any bearing on the fight. I think that it's something that maybe Dubois can use. At least he has the knowledge that, okay, even in these big, heavy 18-ounce gloves, I can still hurt this guy, so I know I can hurt him. That's one thing. I know I can hurt him, but I know that was many, many years ago, and whilst I will have improved, he will also have improved. But you can take a little bit of, confidence from that, certainly. But I don't think it's really going to have any bearing at all, really, on this fight. I look so forward to this fight. Honestly, I think that as long as it lasts, it's going to be phenomenal. We will, of course. We have to do a live watch-along. I think we're almost obliged to do a live watch-along for the Saudi shows at this point. But yes, we will be doing a live watch-along for that, of course. I think it's going to be a phenomenal fight. I think it's going to be really, really good fun. I think it's going to be enjoyable to watch. And while it lasts, anyway, many things I'm envisioning, and it's not a boring fight. It's not one of them, I should say. It's going to be a really, really good fight. But that's what Anthony Fowler said with regards to Anthony Joshua. Now, there's been a lot. There really has been a lot coming out about Joshua, Tyson Fury, other people. Derek Chisora has declared. Now, I had a listen to his interview with Simon Jordan. I'd done a video on it, talked a bit briefly about it, and Simon Jordan just looking bemused, as he always does. And I was listening to him today again, and he went in the space of a couple of days from saying that he feels Tyson Fury is going to beat Alexander Usyk, that's his pick, and that, he's sticking with it, and blah, 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 to, he was on with Adam Smith and Spencer Oliver, and I forget the other guy's name, Jim White. And I remember he went from picking Tyson Fury to saying, Well, he might win the rematch. It's like every single time he says something and people kind of seem to critique him on it, he seems to just flip his opinion. Because a few months ago, it was a close fight, Fury and Usyk. It was split. It was a close fight. And now it's comprehensive for Alexander Usyk. So it seems like he just reads the room every time he makes it. It doesn't stop making these silly statements, but he does nonetheless. But he was on with Derek Chisora. Chisora saying that Usyk is the best he's fought, and doesn't surprise me. Not in the slightest. He was saying that, and Spencer Oliver as well were saying that, but you showed the blueprint. It's like, well, yeah, he did. You need a 6'1", 240-pound man who can get under Usyk's shots and put it on him. And even then, Usyk was able to make the necessary adjustments and take control in the fight. But yes, he did show how to make Alexander Usyk a little bit uncomfy. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua are 6'6" and 6'9", respectively. Explain to me how, one, they're going to be able to fight the way Chisora did and have that same output, and two, how they're going to get under Usyk's shots. I mean, I'm just saying with that one. But Chisora said something about Anthony Joshua. He's declared that this new revitalized Anthony Joshua would KO both Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk to become undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. He says AJ will knock Fury out in 6 rounds and he will stop Alexander Usyk in 4 rounds. I'm telling you now, because he's got the right dancing partner, his trainer. Okay, I like Chisora, and certainly some of the things he was saying in that interview were interesting, where he was talking about Sugar Hill kind of only really being there for the last 2 weeks of time of Team Fury in the camp, and Fury not really paying attention to him. That John Fury is really the main guy in training camp now. That was interesting. But then he says things like that, where it's like, no. Do I think that if Joshua fought Tyson Fury, he'd have a good chance of winning? Yes, I do. I'd pick him over Tyson Fury. Wouldn't pick him over Alexander Usyk. In terms of stopping both of them, I think that would be a hard ask. Certainly, if you were to beat Usyk, you're not stopping him. It's a distance win. It's a distance win, definitely. Same with Fury. I think that AJ definitely hits harder than Alexander Usyk, and if Usyk can put Fury in that kind of trouble, then definitely Joshua can. But AJ is not as dynamic as Alexander Usyk. He's not able to adjust the way Alexander Usyk was. Usyk was able to get Fury on the back foot almost immediately. He was able to dictate the pace. I think Fury would have an easier time in there landing on Anthony Joshua than he did on Alexander Usyk. I wouldn't pick him over Joshua, but I think that if he did stop Fury, again, it would more than likely be a late or be a distance fight. I don't agree with Chisora there. He has predicted that Alexander Usyk will stop Fury in the rematch. He says, I don't think Tyson was 100%. He's had a massive cut. He didn't spar the way he wanted to spar, and he was under pressure. He was mucking around for the first 4 or 5 rounds because the confidence was not there. I think Usyk stops him this time. Him and Sugar Hill, the relationship is kind of dying now, as I was saying earlier. And he's right about Fury saying that he was mucking around for the first 4 rounds. He wasn't landing anything. All the showboating and this, that, and the other, that to me was almost like he was just trying to mask the fact that, like, okay, you're winning, you're hitting me, and I'm not hitting you, you're outlanding me, so let's just make the judges think, oh, look at me, I'm showboating, I'm this, that, and the other, I'm giving it. It's almost like with Fury, that's his way, to showboat and the masquerade and to try and goad the opponent. People remember years ago when he fought Steve Cunningham a decade ago. When he was struggling to land on Steve Cunningham, what was he doing? He was trying to goad Steve Cunningham to come to him. That was what he was trying to do. He was trying to goad Steve Cunningham to come to him because he knew, if I can goad this guy and he comes to me, it's going to make it easier for me because I can't hit him. At long range, he's too damn fast. I can't hit him. So goad him, get him to come to me and give the judges the perception that, look, I'm in control. Come on, come at me. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's what Tyson Fury does. He's always done that. In terms of the cut, could he have sparred properly? Well, that was in February. The fight happened in May. So, yeah, you could definitely make that argument that didn't help. When people say ill-prepared, something like that where you're not able to spar properly, yes, that would ill-prepare you. But in terms of, like, what people like, what's that guy's name? Dominic Ingle saying he's just not fit. So what? He just didn't train? No. His fitness held up, in terms of, like, he obviously did gas, but he's a 36-year-old man who's 6'8", 6'9", 270 odd pounds or 60 odd pounds, who's not lived the cleanest lifestyle. He's bound to gas out, doesn't matter how good the camp is. But in terms of being fight prepared, in terms of sparring, yeah, I definitely could make a case with Chisora on that one, 110%, 100%. What else is there? Yes, let's talk about this. So Chris Billum Smith will face Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez in a WBA WBO unification bout in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on November the 16th. I seen Everything Boxing post on X that this is a non-pay-per-view event, which is very good. I actually will see, I think I have CBS's Box Rec page here. Yes, here it is here. So it's a 5-fight card for the time being. Don't know if it's going to be, if this is necessarily the whole card or if there's going to be more to come. We'll wait and see on that one. I would assume they might do a few kind of filler fights. But as a non-pay-per-view event, it's all right. It's pretty good. It's not terrible. Certainly not. It has, obviously this is the order on BoxRec. It won't be the running order, I would imagine, on Fight Night. Williams Opetaia versus Tevin Farmer. Good luck to Tevin Farmer. I wish you all the best. You're going to get an absolute pasting against Williams Opetaia, but former world champion was Tevin Farmer too, God help us. Oscar Collazo versus Edwin Hernandez. Oscar Collazo 10-0 with 7 knockouts. Only 5'2", fights at minimum weight. Wow, they haven't. Wow, so we're going to see a minimum weight. Now, you don't see a lot of them televised, really, the minimum weights. Very seldom. So we're seeing a minimum weight, which is the lightest weight. I think it's 105 pounds. 105 pounds is the weight limit. We certainly don't see a lot of them. We're going to see one of them potentially. Well, we're definitely going to see it on a Saudi show. Oscar Duarte versus Kenneth Sims Jr. That might be an interesting little scrap. This one right here is a bit of a I like the fight on paper, but Jose Ramirez versus Arnold Barbosa Jr. Look, I like the fight. Ramirez is still useful, but I would rather see Barbosa's rematch because I think he deserves it, Sean McComb, because he won that fight. He won the fight, clearly. So Barbosa's, and this is a big step up from Sean McComb. And then the main event, you have CBS versus Zurdo. Listen, I don't mind this card. It's non-pay-per-view, thank God, and it's a good card to have. CBS, why in God's name he is not fighting Jay Opetaia is beyond me. It just seems like he just does not want to know. He looks at Zurdo and thinks, started at 168, I'm the natural cruiserweight. I think they're about, no, they wouldn't be the same age. I think Zurdo was slightly younger. But Zurdo fought in, I actually thought it was Saudi Arabia. If someone corrected me, thank you for that, by the way. It was in Dubai. It was Dubai or Abu Dhabi. It was one or the other. But that's where he actually fought Bivol. It wasn't in Saudi Arabia. Correction on that. I stand corrected on that one. But it's a, look, you're on the Saudi show, fair play. Who was he promoted by now, Zurdo? He was with Top Rank, then he was with Golden Boy. Is he a free agent now, or who was he promoted by now? I'm not 100% sure, but he's in there with CBS. And yeah, like, again, I just don't get it. I'm pretty sure CBS was talking about fighting in the States as one of the reasons as to kind of why he was looking at Zurdo. And now he's fighting in Riyadh, and that is the place where Opetaia has been fighting as of late. So again, I'm just mystified here. Why are you not fighting Opetaia? Surely you could have made that unification. You probably could have made a bit more money as well, because it could have been on the undercard to say Fury Usyk, and you probably could have made a lot of money from that. But no, he is fighting Zurdo Ramirez, and that's a tough fight as well. Like I wouldn't necessarily just go in and say, oh, CBS is going to walk it. Listen, I think Zurdo was better than the likes of, certainly better than the likes of Richard Riakporhe. I think he's better than the likes of Mastanek. I can't think of his name there, Mastanek. I think he's better than the likes of him. So I wouldn't say this is a walk in the park. Certainly not for CBS. But as the Saudi show in a nutshell, like I said, they might add to it as time progresses in terms of filler cards or filler fights. But yeah, it's not a bad show for free to air. If this was a pay-per-view show, yeah, I wouldn't be waxing lyricals about that now if it was a pay-per-view, to be honest with you. But as a free show, as part of your DAZN subscription or potentially Sky, then I really don't have too much of a problem. Certainly not with this show. Certainly not. So I'm okay with that. In other news, Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina, which meant to take place on the October 12th show, Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev, is now off due to a hand injury suffered by Shakur Stevenson. Anyway, now move on from that. Because Shakur Stevenson, Shakur Stevenson is not the most entertaining fighter, to say the least. He is a tremendous fighter. Don't misconstrue it. I'm saying that he's not a good fighter. He is a tremendous talent, tremendous fighter. I think he's one of the best around, so talented. But at the end of the day, boxing is still an entertainment. And I appreciate his talent, but that doesn't mean I want to just sit and be like, 12 round, low punch output, nothing else. I don't want to do that. Like, I want to be entertained watching fights as well. And that was going to co-main this show. The question now is, what happens with Joe Cordina? Does he stay on the show? Do they change it around? Very seldom are there pullouts on these Saudi shows. Very seldom. And you'll see, like in the case of Frank Sanchez, fighters will fight injured, blatantly injured, to get that Saudi bag. You know, they'll try and see if they can do it. But like, he was injured against Caballero. Very seldom they pull out. When Tim Tszyu pulled out of his fight against Virgil Ortiz, stating that the cuts hadn't healed, so he couldn't spar, fair enough, I understand that. They were quick to take Virgil Ortiz, and he was moved on to the following week's show, which was a Golden Boy show, and then they replaced that fight, which was a great fight, or would have been a great fight, with an equally interesting and good fight, which was Jared Anderson versus Martin Bakole. Now, no disrespect to Joe Cordina. Again, I mean no disrespect, but the only time he's been in the Saudi show, he got his ass kicked. He is not a co-main eventer on the Saudi show. He's just, when you consider the fighters and the fights on the undercard, I mean, if they did Zelfa Barrett versus Joe Cordina, no disrespect intended to both guys, that has no place co-main eventing when you have the likes of Fraser Clark, Fabio Wardley on the undercard. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. And there's not even a world title on the line. So I hope that Turki Al-Sheikh, if he does do a fight like Joe Cordina versus Zelfa Barrett, in the nicest way, he moves it down the card. He moves it down the card, because realistically, Joe Cordina or whoever, he might put on a better fight, who knows, but that shouldn't be co-main. That whole card, in a nutshell, it's going to be all over the shop, because arguably the second best fight on the card, the one that probably fans are, with the exception of the main event, most interested in, is going to be further down the card than fights that no one really gives a damn about, like Eubank versus Sarah. No, I genuinely couldn't care less about that fight. It shouldn't be higher than Wadley Clark 2, in my opinion. So I hope that they move Wadley Clark 2 up. At the end of the day, David Adelaide fought Fabio Wadley as co-main on Fury Ngannou nearly a year ago now. And on the undercard, you had the likes of Arslanbek Makhmudov, you had Joseph Parker, can't remember who else was, I think Frank Sanchez was on there as well. Now, they might not have been in necessarily 50-50 fights, but nevertheless, they were still bigger in terms of their career development than those two guys, whereas for the British title, Joseph Parker, former world champion, didn't co-main it. And I think they deserve to co-main it. I think that should be the co-main event, and it should be higher up the card, because it's a very good fight. It's an intriguing fight. It's a fight I really can't wait to see. I think it's going to be a really good rematch. So I hope that this makes Turki Al-Sheikh rearrange the card a little bit. And, you know, I've often mentioned that with these Saudi shows, they go on too long, and I'm seeing a lot more people agree with me, and a lot more people mention it now as well, that they're not best pleased with how long some of these Saudi shows are going on. And to be honest with you, I think that this is something that we need to keep talking about. Like, Turki Al-Sheikh has done a lot of good for boxing, he definitely has, but he still has a lot to learn. He gets the fact, I think, that boxing is an entertainment sport, but he seems to almost not grasp the fact that entertainment is the fighting. It's not the theatrics. It's not the long pause times to watch a trailer and this, that, and the other. Most fight fans don't give a you-know-what. They don't give a monkeys about that kind of stuff. What the boxing fans really want is they want fight. Like that. Not having to start watching a show at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and they're still watching it at midnight. You could do an 8-hour work shift in that time. Most boxing fans want to, if they start at 4, hopefully it's done by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night at the latest. That's it. And the music acts, I'm sorry, I think they're just pointless. They're just a gimmick. They really are. So, long and short of it, Shakur Stevenson off the card. Tyson Fury, our old friend Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. So, Alexander Usyk has said, Alexander Usyk asked if he is planning any surprises for Tyson Fury in the rematch. He said, "We are preparing candles, cakes, and so much for our friend." for our friend. We will treat him to delicious hugs. You know, just Alexander Usyk is just honestly, this guy is I was gonna say he's not obviously British or Irish, he's Ukrainian, but I'm sure he is a national treasure in Ukraine. But he is a treasure in the boxing world, isn't he? There's so much stuff this guy comes out with that just makes you laugh, and he embraces it. That's what I like about him. But in terms of the rematch, he has insisted that Tyson Fury cannot pull out of the rematch. No way, because the ball's in our court now. He has a contract. He has a contract, and so do I, until December the 31st. We have to hold this fight up to and including that date. If he pulls out December 21st, he will lose all of his money and dividends and won't be a man of his word anymore. Alexander, was he ever a man of his word? Won't be a man of his word. Man of his word, Tyson Fury, they just don't gel. They just don't mix. You know, it's like putting, ketchup on your cornflakes. It just doesn't work. It's like saying Tyson Fury is a man of his word. Like, seriously, mate. No, Tyson Fury, I think, will go through with the rematch. I do. The funny thing is, right, I was more convinced that he would go through with the fight first time around in February. I was wrong. I still believed he'd go through with the fight in May, but I did it with a bit of intrepidation, definitely. But ultimately, I was saying it will happen. With this one, I'm saying it will happen in my opinion, but I'm nowhere near as confident as I was with the first fight in terms of it happening, if that makes sense. Would I rule Fury out of pulling out of the fight? No, I wouldn't. Do I think he will? I don't know. I mean, like, it really is. If Turki Al-Sheikh wants to do Joshua next, if Joshua beats Dubois and he offers Fury more money than he'll make for Usyk, I would imagine he'll probably have to pay Usyk some step-aside money, because obviously Alexander Usyk will want to be compensated, but I wouldn't rule it out. I really wouldn't, and it would still be a big fight. Joshua would be the champion again. He'd be the A side. He'd come to the ring second. And it would still be a big fight with the British public. I think the British public would forget very quickly. I mean, at the end of the day, you think about it like this. When Joshua knocked out Ngannou, Fury hadn't fought Usyk. And he'd spent the last nearly 2 years ducking him. And the British public, I was calling out Fury. Everyone was. And Fury was getting a lot of crap. He was. Rightly so. But when people were calling for him against Joshua, it was like those people who were saying, Fury, Usyk, Fury, Usyk, Fury, Usyk. Yes, we have it now. No, Fury, Joshua next. What? No, hang on a minute. You can't go and criticize someone for ducking for 2 years, for him to then take the fight and then say, well, we really want to see the Joshua. I don't give a crap if you want to see the Joshua fight. I critiqued him, rightly so. Until I saw Undisputed, I was not happy. And he's rematching Usyk. Well, rematch Usyk. It's contractually obliged. But I wouldn't rule out them doing something like that. But I do think it will happen. I do. Now let's finish on Canelo Alvarez. He's fighting Edgar Berlanga this weekend, and the card itself is very typical of a Canelo card. It's not a bad card. It's okay. Stephen Fulton is on there. He's making his comeback. Caleb Plant and Erislandy Lara versus Danny Garcia. I still can't quite get over. Now, they don't have it listed on BoxRec because of that silly, BoxRec don't recognize the WBA. So officially on BoxRec, it will tell you this is a non-title fight. It's for Lara's WBA title. Never mind what BoxRec say. On it, it's just silly. But yes, it is for a world title. I still can't imagine Danny Garcia fighting up it that way. It's just, it's strange to me that he's up there, but he is. In terms of Alvarez versus Berlanga, I've given my pick. I've given my 2 cents on it. I think Canelo was going to walk it. But Canelo Alvarez was asked, and he has said that he is open to facing Conor McGregor in a boxing match in 2025. Yeah, why not? Then we'll show boxing is better. Easy, very easy money. I knock him out at the time I want. 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, whenever I want. That's what Alvarez has to say with McGregor. And you know something? Alvarez would probably sooner fight McGregor than he would Dave Benavidez. He probably would. He would probably sooner fight Conor McGregor and make a crazy amount of money than he would fight Dave Benavidez, because that, if you needed any doubt that Canelo was kind of in that mindset of just, I'm going to take these fights, I'm going to make money, and kind of, I don't want to say checked out, but in terms of seeking glory is kind of probably gone, because he's done everything really. He's just collecting these paydays, having these fights, and, you know, being Canelo. If he fought McGregor, I mean, I'd watch it just to see McGregor get knocked out, because he's a scumbag. I've no time for Conor McGregor. He's not a very popular guy in Ireland in general. I mean, I think Conor McGregor is a scumbag. He's an out-and-out scumbag. You know, I often say about McGregor, he's a guy from inner city Dublin. He's from Crumlin. You can put a pig in a tuxedo, but you can't stop it grunting. And that's what McGregor is. You know, you can put a scumbag in a suit. He's still a scumbag. That's what McGregor is. That's all he'll ever will be. You know, oh yeah, he's rich. Who cares? Does the money... Well, what's the money done for McGregor? Has it bought him any class? No. Well, you can't buy what you never had, I suppose. McGregor is what he is. If Canelo fought him, I would watch it just to see McGregor get laid out. Just purely for that reason. And McGregor is the sort of guy where he would happily take that money just to get knocked out. He really would. I'd want to see it, but like for Canelo, it would be... If you need any indication that that's what Canelo's after, then there you go. Talking about fighting Conor McGregor next year. There you go. I will leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And lads, until tomorrow, I will leave it there. Peace.